And I think that that's one thing that I struggle with is like, I just feel so far behind. Yeah. And so it makes me determine success. When I do that, it makes me determine success as that person's success. And it's like, well, wait, no, I'm not trying to be that person. And I think that's where you have to step back over the line and go, no, that person inspires me, and I have to let that be all that person does.
Yeah.
But if I'm comparing myself, then it gets dangerous, because then my identity, I'm trying to be that person.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Then I'm not creating music that I love. I'm creating music that I do like, but I'm trying to create music that's not my music.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be somebody else.
Josh Masters, thank you for coming today to the Songwriter Nighttime podcast.
Yeah.
I will say that you're like the second person that has said, when asked what your snack of choice was, cheese and crackers. I mean, you said Cheez-Its, and then you said cheese and crackers. Yeah, so you could go either way.
Cheez-Its is probably like that's like the easy version. You know, so like if I'm too lazy, and this stuff usually comes out at nighttime. So I'm about to sit down and watch a TV show.
Go to the closet.
I go to the little cabinet. We have one cabinet with all the snacks, and cereals and stuff. And so if I want it easy, I go to Cheez-Its. But if I want to put a little effort into it, man, I love sharp cheddar and some
just like saltines?
Yeah, like saltine crackers.
Yeah.
Ritz are okay, but saltines definitely.
Yeah. And then your drink of choice while you're enjoying your Cheez-Its?
Oh man, I'm a sweet tea guy.
Yeah,
I love, like my wife, and I'll drink sweet tea with anything. Like we'll be eating dessert, and I'll be like, "Can I have some sweet tea?" And my wife is like, you don't drink sweet tea with chocolate cake. I'm like, well, I do.
You do.
And so it's either sweet tea or just like a Modelo. I'll have a beer every now and then, something like that in the evening time. But
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, feel free to snack on these. I'll snack while you're talking. So
I'm gonna have to cover up the mic. So
yeah, we joke about how much like it's kind of like that. They call it ADSR or something,
right?
Where like the mouth sounds.
Right. Oh,
I don't know if people enjoy that.
No, I do. And having kids, I'm just like, it's made me realize how much patience I don't have listening to my kids chew. Can you just close your lips, please?
I want to backtrack and give people a little bit of a history here.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Right.
I'll say that. And we've worked together on a few music projects, which I was actually listening to your portfolio on iTunes the other day.
Oh man,
your old stuff too.
Oh man.
And then I listened to the song that we did with your vocals on it, and I was super proud of that too. I'm like, man, I really like what you have out.
Thanks,
and
man.
So before we get to that, because that kind of leads me to a question that I have in regards to that. But man, what people don't realize, and if they go to your Instagram, they will realize this, but like, you are a sick musician. Like the one video that you played the other day where you're like, hey, I just found this little groove at the park, and you're just like, it was like the most tasteful thing.
Thanks, man.
And it's like so sick. So when people start to
it.
listen to your stuff, they're going to get a sense of that. But what people don't know is that, and I didn't know for the longest time, you're not only a guitar player, but then people were like, no, dude, he plays violin.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean he plays violin? That's not an easy instrument.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's literally like what he does. Like,
yeah.
I've never actually heard you play, but people say it's like your thing. Is it your thing?
There's a sense in which, it is. Short answer. So I started playing fiddle when I was 5, which is a cool story in and of itself, how that's probably the infancy of music for me.
Really?
I grew up in a very musical home. My mom and dad sing and play and have since they were teenagers, just, traveling around to local churches and stuff. And so we grew up, we were weekend warriors, But not only that, my grandpa and grandma were avid bluegrass festival fans. And so we would hit up all of the local bluegrass festivals. We love Salmon Lake right here in Grapeland, Texas. That was one of the big ones. But anyway, my grandpa was a fiddler.
Wow.
Not a fantastic fiddler, but he was kind of the caricature. When you think of an old-time fiddler, he was the caricature of that. And so he started playing. My sister played.
I'm just imagining like an older man with overalls.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, completely, man. Well, he was more the denim with flannel shirt kind of person.
Gotcha.
But he played fiddle. My sister played fiddle. My first cousin played fiddle.
Wow.
But the reason we all got into it was because my grandpa was also a lineman for actually Navasota for a while. Moved to Cleveland, worked around here, kind of Southeast Texas area. But he got electrocuted one time up on a pole when he was working on a pole, and I don't know the technical term for it, but basically it burned, or it affected the muscles in his arm in some way where he had to obviously rebuild strength, dexterity, and coordination. And so the doctor was like, hey, you need to do something. Because he had played guitar before that, but he's like, you need to do something to kind of rebuild that coordination. And so he picked up the fiddle.
Wow.
And from that, 3 of his grandchildren played. And we would do fiddle contests and all that. And
does your sister still play?
She doesn't. She probably could.
Yeah.
She was really, really good. But she was always like, she never wanted to perform for anybody. So it was me and my cousin who were kind of always the ones out.
So you kind of liked that attention or playing in front of people?
Yeah, I've always.
Not necessarily saying you want the attention, but.
No, I want the attention, for sure. No. No, I wasn't generally scared of being, of playing and people watching. That was part of the fun.
Did y'all have like jams as a family back in the day?
Oh, man, all the time.
So your dad is a guitarist?
My dad plays guitar and banjo, both banjo and guitar.
I saw. So I saw you play piano, and I saw a video of you playing banjo.
Little bit. That was a practice part. It took me a few minutes to get, and I couldn't do anything more than that. But yeah, primarily I grew up playing fiddle. I started that when I was 5, and I played fiddle pretty avidly until all the way through college. Mm-hmm. So until I was about 23, 24. Even when we were in Nashville after college, I played in a bluegrass band. I did all the overdub stuff on our album there, which is not on iTunes. I probably should put it on there at some point. But I did all that stuff. And then afterwards, I moved back to Texas, and life just I just started playing guitar more because I made more money with it.
Yeah.
There's more demand for a great guitar player.
When did you pick the guitar up?
I got my first guitar, I think it was like 6, 7 years old. My grandpa gave me, I remember for my birthday, not the one that played, but the other grandpa, my mom's side, gave me a Fender acoustic guitar, a Dreadnought. So it was huge. It was way too big for me. And it had this Mighty Mouse VHS tape, saran wrapped or something to the neck of the case of the guitar. And I loved both of them equally. I remember even as a kid, I was excited about the guitar. But I didn't really touch it. My dad, when I wanted to play, I would have to get on my dad's knee, and I would strum. I have vivid memories of my dad chording, G, C, and D, and he would teach me the right hand.
Totally.
And that's really how I learned to play guitar, was from my dad. Probably while watching Mighty Mouse, but
that's exactly what I do with Charity right now. She enjoys me with the chords and her strumming.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And it's interesting, like the left hand, it's harder at first, but the long run, the right hand is what's really actually hard. So it's really cool. I think that's a big advantage for kids to start there,
Yeah.
Because then they're learning one thing, and then when they pick up the other, the right hand's already moving. Yeah. So all they have to do is focus on one hand at a time.
That's why I played bass, because I just found it infinitely easier than any other instrument, at the time, learning. And then I got into Victor Wooten and stuff like that, and I realized, you could really do it.
It's funny, though. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit there that I could probably take shots at and be like, bass player, it's only got 4 strings, maybe 5. I just don't think that. I think bass players, I have a different...
You got respect there?
Oh, mad.
I know you do.
Because if there's a great bass player and a great drummer,
you don't
need anything else, man.
Yeah, that's good. So you grew up maybe listening to a bunch of bluegrass stuff. Like, man, do you remember what your earliest influences were?
Yeah, so I grew up listening mainly to Southern gospel.
Okay.
My dad was in a quartet when he was younger, and then the music that we sang as a family was rooted heavily in Southern gospel harmony-wise. We didn't even really sing the really more bluegrass harmony. We kind of played bluegrass instruments but sang Southern gospel, and so it was a really cool melding.
That makes a ton of sense with like all your background vocal instincts that we've
different.
Worked on, and I've seen you post. I'm like, man, it's really cool stuff.
Right. I was my dad was and mom, both of them, because my mom plays piano. Was very instrumental in teaching me harmony and like gave me a love for it, for singing harmony and picking out the parts.
That's so cool.
But man, I don't know. Probably one of the first albums that I really enjoyed was an album by the Bishops, which is they're a quartet or a Southern gospel group, and they put out a bluegrass album. They hired some of the best studio, bluegrass players at the time, and that was probably the first album that I remember being like, I really like that, because I was heavy in bluegrass when I was young. Obviously, when I get older, I went to church youth groups and was exposed to rock and
yeah. Well, I was gonna ask, were you like did you have were you pretty much like sheltered in regards to like the music that you grew up listening to, like in the Christian category, or?
Yeah, about as crazy as we got was a contemporary Christian WOW CD.
Yeah, oh wow, that's
right. Wow. No, I think my first exposure to things outside of kind of that acoustic Southern gospel genre was number one, Carmen. I don't know if you remember Carmen.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was allowable. So, and not only allowable, that was a prolific listening experience in our home. And I loved it. To this day, I still love it. I jam it out for our kids. But then we had the WOW CD, which
we listened to Carmen. I forget what song it was, where he's telling a story, and it just lasts forever.
Oh yeah,
but it's
he's brilliant.
Yeah,
he's great, man. I love Carmen.
He still looks like he's 18, right?
He's a stud. I think he's a model. Huh?
Is he still alive?
No, he is. Yeah, he got married late in life. Cool testimony.
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so when I heard the Newsboys, I'm ashamed to say it, but Shine was my jam, when I was about 10, 12 years old.
Totally.
And, but anything outside of that genre, I remember, so I was homeschooled, and my mom would, send me to my room to do work, and 90% of the time, I mean, my mom's still sang, thankfully, but 90% of the time I would go to my room and I would just get the guitar, and I would either play or I would air guitar play. In the mirror, or air fiddle play or something. Mark O'Connor was a huge influence. You ask who influences were. He's probably the single biggest person that's influenced me musically, and he's kind of been the stars that I've shot for.
Wow.
I
don't know any of his stuff. Wow.
He's a fiddle player.
Okay.
But his albums are so versatile. I mean, you've got everything from backdoor swing to bluegrass to jazz to fusion kind of influences. I mean, he does a lot of stuff with Victor Wooten and stuff.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Just really, really great musician. But then I remember one time I had this little radio unit, and I was scanning through the frequencies, and I found 93.7 classic rock. And I was like, I'll try this out. And I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan's Crossfire. For the first, caught in the crossfire, for the first time, and I was dumbstruck.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah, man. I was speechless for a second, and then I immediately started playing air guitar in my room when I should have been doing math. But that was kind of the infancy of my love for like soul and blues, because I have a great love for that stuff.
Yeah, well, and that's what I want people to understand is like, man, you have a conglomerate of just all these different influence and genres that come out. Like in the song, the most recent single that you put out, Here Comes I Love You.
Yeah.
Like
which you played on, by the way,
I did,
and nailed the bass line.
On that. Yeah, that was fun. That was a super fun experience. But yeah, it's just like you have like this, this groove or this vibe now that it's just like, I can just tell that comes from a deep love for music,
Yeah, and it's informed by a lot of things stylistically, which is hard to kind of rein in sometimes.
That was one of my questions looking at your portfolio was, okay, I have a couple of follow-up questions. Is like, what led you from Texas to Nashville? Was it the music thing? I want to get into that. But then, like, looking at your categories, like, on iTunes, like, there's contemporary bluegrass, pop. There's some country things in there. So it's like, I feel like, you were kind of maybe, like, chiseling away to kind of find who you are musically? Are you still on that journey, or like, so?
Yeah.
Take those questions.
I would say I'm more trying to zero something in now. Then I was just doing whatever I wanted, whatever inspired me. You know, so there's some stuff on there that's really country or I
never heard of contemporary bluegrass, but I was like,
right,
that sounds cool.
right. Yeah, which I should get you some of our bluegrass stuff.
Definitely.
It's pretty cool. It was fun. It was a great season. So I never really tried to be anything specific, and I just went off inspiration. So if I had something that was inspiring me at the time, I was like, I want to do something like that, you know. And so I was never early on. I just never had a target. It was always whatever came up in front of me when I was shooting at. But yeah, when the whole bluegrass or the Nashville thing, it was interesting. I had met a couple players through a mutual friend at some, like a banjo and a guitar competition randomly. And I met the Texas State Championship banjo player. He lives here in Houston. His name is Daniel Roy. He was 16 when he won it. Wow. Crazy good musician. His brother played stand-up bass and did arco with the bow and all that. And I met these guys, and I had another friend, Conrad Kraft, who played mandolin that I went to high school with.
Okay.
And through him, I met these two guys, and we started this band. And I had a couple friends in the Tennessee area around Nashville, Cookeville, and Pikeville. And it was weird. I was just like, all these are my favorite people. I love these people. Let's just do something. So we traveled around. We booked 2 weeks straight. I think we played like 15 or 16 shows in like 14 days across several states. Yeah. So it was like literally, you know, we would sing sometimes one morning, and then we would go sing that evening in another state. I mean, we were hauling it, but we just kind of all wanted that experience. So like, let's just do it. Let's just do a 2-week stretch and have fun. We were all exiting college at the time, or high school at the time. And yeah, so through those college years, I was kind of playing bluegrass with them, studying violin and jazz guitar in college.
That's awesome. What brought you back to Texas?
Well, okay, so we left the day after my last class in college. We left and moved to Nashville, and we were there for about 3 years. And we recorded some stuff up there. Long story short, my wife and I got pregnant, and I was just like, let's just go back home. All of our family's there. We have a fantastic family. And so we've been here ever since then, man.
Is she a musician at all, or does she sing, or? I can't remember if she sang at church.
Point of bitterness.
No, okay.
You brought up something. You brought up a great point here. She's not a musician.
Derek's wife sings, right?
Yeah,
okay,
she's a great singer.
Confused. Okay.
Yeah. But my wife, she studied piano. She kind of did the normal childhood thing, and she also studied voice. Well, when we were courting, dating, whatever you want to call it, she actually had a vocal recital and didn't tell me about it.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm bitter.
It's not recorded or anything for you to go back and...
No. But no, I'm not bitter.
She'll have to sing with you on some records.
She knows how to sing. Yeah, she's not... She would never... She doesn't want attention. Yeah. She wanted to finish a recital and be done kind of thing. So, yeah it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I do get to hear her sing our kids to sleep, and...
Man, that's cool.
That's a beautiful thing.
That's really cool. How long have you been married now?
Be 13 years, November 22nd. So
that's awesome.
Brownie points for me
no doubt
for knowing that.
I always like pause and like 11, 12. And how many kids do you have?
We have 7.
Bro.
Yeah.
I forgot that you have so many kids.
It is funny. Like people are shocked by it every time.
Then the ages range from what to what?
So our youngest is 4 months.
Okay. Oh, 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Wow.
Right now.
That's awesome.
And our oldest is going to be...
How old are you?
He's 12. I'm 35. Yeah. That's the age I have a hard time remembering.
Yeah. Oh, your own age?
Oh, man.
What's the oldest kid? How old?
I think he's 12. Yeah, because his birthday is in October, so he just turned 12. Yeah.
Maybe you can encourage us a little bit. We just I'm telling it. Maybe I'll cut this out. Maybe I won't. But we just found
Edit
out
this
that we found out Angela's 10 weeks.
What?
I know. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. This is 3?
This is 3. Yeah, and it was unexpected. Just unplanned, unexpected. But so we're getting used to the idea and super excited about it. But we feel like we're old. I'm 38. She's 37.
You're 38?
I'm 38.
No, dude, I feel like I'm older than you. That's probably because I look older than everybody.
No, man, I'm an old man. But anyways, I guess it's not that old, right? Like
no.
Yeah.
No.
People have kids way older all the time, right?
Oh, all the time.
Okay, cool.
How old is your oldest?
He's 11.
Yeah, man.
So,
well, it's funny. People tell me all the time. They'll be like, "Oh man, we have 2 and we're done." I'm like, "Have you been clipped?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Then stop saying that because it could still happen."
It could happen.
Yep,
dude. That's okay. So one thing I wanted to follow up too about was we've talked a little about your growth as a musician, but like, when did you start writing songs? Like, was that early on too, when you were like, man, I think I could write something?
I guess I would say I attribute a lot of the infancy or inception of rhyme, specifically that aspect of writing, to my mom. In school, she would have me write poetry, and it wasn't like a regimental, scheduled out thing, but she would, sometimes we'd be traveling somewhere and she would just, trying to entertain me, I guess. She'd be like, "Hey, write a poem." And sometimes she'd give me a topic, or sometimes she'd just say, "Hey, write something, write a rhyme." And so I'd sit back there and write like this A, B, and that's the only kind of structure I knew.
Sure.
How to write a poem. But it was just this practice of learning to rhyme, and that kind of like piqued my interest in it. So I was already, musically, like instrumentally, I was already sold. I had already bought in. That's what I wanted to do. I realized I had a skill for it. Not only a skill, but actual love for it.
Well, and your vocals too, like you're singing.
Well, and I didn't. Well, okay, so it's funny. I have this weird relationship with my voice, and it genuinely is a love-hate relationship. I don't feel like I got to where I was confident in singing until I was. This is probably like 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was singing when I was younger, but I just never felt like I was any good at it.
I feel like that. I mean, you're saying that it's changed. Like every time you sing, I'm like, dude, you were owning it. You know what I mean? It's
different, and it's fun. It's a lot more fun. And I think that was a big shift for me was realizing, this is not about sounding good. This is about having fun. And if I genuinely love music, then I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that was a big shift for me. And so when I started to enjoy music,
and not be so technical and
I feel like I got better.
Yeah.
But that was a shift of just wanting to enjoy it, and not waiting till I was good enough to enjoy it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So just enjoying where I'm at, because it's something that I love. But as far as the writing thing, it started out with just this attraction to rhyme. And then I realized I started to... Obviously, I think it was a natural progression because I loved music. I think it was just like, oh, you know what? I could write a song. I could actually write a song and put a melody to it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of my early writing was really just this journal with me and the Lord. It was just a conversation. That's what it started out, because I was a young Christian.
Yeah.
I got
you grew up in the church.
Yeah,
Your parents are faithful Christians.
Oh, man. I have the best family.
Yeah.
And I got saved when I was... I say 5, but probably before and after that. I mean, I was at the altar at Children's Church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I just had this early attraction and realization that there was a God, and I was aware of my sin, which made it hard because I had a very guilty conscience, and that was actually this birthplace for my need to emote, and I had the tools to do it. I had the music. And I was being trained in understanding rhyme and rhythm, and so I think that is probably the barest need for me as a musician, is just this sense to emote, and whatever it is. Early on it was about God, and now it's just this constant journal about my life, my family, my kids, situations that I've learned from, or hopefully learned from.
Do you remember that first song that you wrote?
Oh man. No.
No,
No.
It's probably a good thing.
Oh, man. And I don't even know that I would call it a song.
Yeah,
It was just a thing. It was just this random weird creation.
sure.
But I do remember the first official song was, it was called Let Love Lead. And I wrote it at some Southern Gospel. It's actually Stamps Baxter School of Music. I went to their summer camp every year.
Wow.
And I took writing lessons there.
Mm-hmm.
And
So as you were playing and singing and writing, like, were people, especially maybe your family, were they like affirming you and being like, man, this is good. Like, you should keep doing this.
Well, it's funny. I think when you have a talent and people see that, they're always like, oh, especially like at bluegrass festivals or just anywhere, people be like, oh man, we're going to see you on TV someday. Don't forget us little people when you get famous,
Yeah.
And that was a great thing because it encouraged me, but it was also like this negative thing too later on in life because I assumed my identity, I assimilated some of that identity upon myself or pre-imposed their vision of my
You had
identity.
to be something that they...
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, that's not what I have to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were very affirming. They were very encouraging. My dad he's a very steady person. He is a visionary. That's what's funny, but he's very duty oriented. He took care of our family very well. He went to work all the time. And I remember when I wanted to go to college for audio engineering, he was like, maybe you should get an electrical degree or something in the AC, maybe that way you have something to fall back on. And I was like,
you're like, granddad, his arm, now he's a musician. Like,
right.
I remember?
Right. I was like, nah, I'm going to just do this thing. I'm just do what I love. And which comes with its own consequences.
Sure.
You bear the consequences. It's not an easy life, but
yeah.
They were very affirmative.
One thing I was going to also ask was, so looking at your catalog, 2014 was like, you released a lot of stuff in 2014. You were super excited at that point. And then I'll just say it that way. Mm-hmm. And then in 2021, that's the latest.
Right.
Just came out with a new song, So it's like, what was happening in your life was that the transition from Nashville back to Texas and just like God calling you into ministry or, because currently you're a worship pastor at a church plant.
Yeah.
Here in
Collective
Magnolia.
Church in Magnolia.
Yeah. And that's
shameless plug there.
Yeah. Come on down.
You're welcome, Pastor Derek.
But that time frame where you were like figuring yourself out, just life was happening, just like, how did you get from there back to now thinking, because I thought I heard you say, now is when I want to start putting out music. I kind of want to start getting out there again.
Yeah, there's just this, like, you're trying to figure out how to make a living at music. You're trying to figure out your identity in that, your place in the musical space. Like for you, you've come to realize you're this mixer.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go, okay, here, I'm going to lean into this. And for me, I think I've always known I have this artist spirit. I want to write, I want to sing, I want to play, I want to do all those things. It's not like I just want to be a studio musician. Mm-hmm. But all of those things together are artistry. And that's different than mixing. It's different than studio playing. It's different than being a part of a backing band. It's this whole front man kind of mentality genetics it's different. It's its own thing. And I had come to a place where I just thought, man, I don't want to travel. I don't want to leave my family. And I always thought that to do it, it had to look a certain way. It had to look like all the other rock stars. They give up their life to go do this thing. And I just realized I didn't want that. I want it. I didn't want to hurt anybody, And so recently I've just felt this release from the Holy Spirit to be like, no, you need to be writing. You need to be being an artist because it's what I created you to be. And so it's just this idea of leaning into that identity of, I think there was that period of 7 years or so where I was essentially trying to starve it, and just fast from it. But some of it probably healthy, some of it probably unhealthy. But you know how it is when you love something and aren't doing it.
Oh yeah.
It's like the scripture says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick."
Sure.
And so I think I just realized, man, I came to this place where it was like, where the Lord revealed to me, hey, even if you stop doing this, it's not going to make you happy. And so it's like, oh, well, my only choice is to do it then. Success or failure, you know, whatever those two things mean, I have to do it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just that's kind of the recent thing, is having this release from the Spirit to say, I can pursue this thing, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Does that help you write in a way that like feels more free?
For sure.
You know, where you're just
it's funny. I wasn't even writing during most of that time, from 2014 to now. I can't say that I probably wrote a handful of songs in that time, which is, it was virtually nothing.
What about nowadays? How often are you writing?
Yeah. I mean, I try to write every week. You know, like going to the park, I try to go there a few times a week just to have a couple hours of undivided attention. And nothing pulling my attention away, and just write, you know, and just making a practice of it, whether I write something great or not.
Does it always talk about where songs start for you? Like, do you usually find a guitar thing that you like and then try to sing on top of it? Or do you ever still write lyric stories and then try to bring music to that? Or how do you do it?
I've never written a song just lyrically. There is usually a melody or a musical inspiration that's guiding it. Yeah. I usually start from a place of, whether it's an actual riff I've come up with or just a lane of emotion, you know, a vibe that I'm trying to write to, or an idea, I'll work that idea and just kind of write around it until I find, not like the title, but like the meat of the song. What is the idea that I'm circling and trying to clarify? And I don't know, it's almost like, you know, there's this funny saying that they're like, some people talk when they have something to say, and some people talk until they have something to say. And I feel like that is a little bit of my writing. I know I want to say something that has to do with a certain subject or whatever, but sometimes I need to write to that thing to get there.
I like the way you describe it, like you're circling. You're just circling until it kind of narrows itself down, and you're like, oh, that's the idea.
Yeah, and photographers would call it working the angle, working the shot, you know, where they're like, okay, here's this image I'm trying to create. That first time I throw the camera up, it's like, well, I don't get it. Let me move over here, or right, just what you were doing with these cameras right before you're working the angle until, oh, there it is. There's that thing. And that's how I do with the lyric. And then once I get that idea, then I can start to ruthlessly cut out the stuff I've already said and go, okay, does that really lend itself?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, so in regards to the production of the music that you're working on and maybe the music that you'll put out, like, what are you trying to do production-wise? Like, and maybe you can pull from things that inspire you, you know, recently or whatever, like from people that inspire you musically, but what to you when it comes to the production, even the production on the last release, like what are you looking for when it comes to the music side nowadays? How would you try to describe that?
That's a really good question, and it's been probably the biggest thing I've wrestled with in the last several months, of just like, okay, if I want to actually record, because writing, it's undefined, right? You can write a song and it's just the lyrics, but it can go 10,000 ways, production-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Stylistically.
Someone described music as like the different clothes that you can put on. I'm like, yeah, that's
completely
exactly what it is. Like you can wear a million different jackets with this.
Right, and especially if it's a great song. If it's a good song, I won't say great, but if it's a good song, usually that song can take different forms stylistically. I think I've just had to go back and go, okay, not only what inspires me, but there's also a live element. I really enjoy performing the music, like actually interacting with the song as I'm playing it.
Yeah.
That's some people enjoy the writing process. I don't totally enjoy the writing process.
That's such a good way to explain it. Let me interrupt you for just a second, because the other day at church, David was like, what I like about you is you don't play the same thing twice.
Right.
And I was like, maybe I can think that as a bad thing. Like, I'm not playing the exact same thing. But the way I was thinking about it is like, you're right.
No,
like,
you're engaged with it. As
I'm
it's going
engaged
by.
with the performance as it's happening.
Right.
And then that is informing my body and like the way that I'm playing in such a way that comes out in a unique thing. It could be an idea that I'd never had before.
Absolutely.
But it's coming out now, and I'm feeling it now in this particular way.
Absolutely.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's this very real time, as the lyrics are going by and the ball's bouncing, you're like, you're interpreting it in the moment, and you're playing to that thing. It's very interactive. It's almost like tactile. There's this tactility to it, if that's even a word. I've described music a lot of times as my fidget spinner. There's this engagement thing that's very soothing. It's very purpose-driven.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling.
Well,
and
that's exactly how you did the recording of the last release, which was super fun. Is get a bunch of guys in a room.
Yeah,
work out
let's
the song,
interpret this thing.
Let's interpret it.
Right, let's see what happens.
Do you plan on doing more stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to be a little more intentional about it. Right, like right now, the next song that I'm working on, I'm going to do more of a campaign, for a lack of a better word. I'm going to do more of an intentional studio version ahead of time. And
the
then
pre-production stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll probably do like a streaming version, but I'm not going to release it yet, And then I'm working with another guy that'll help me produce a live version that's completely different, like just way off base.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll give me this ability to be able to do something live as well as set a standard through that streaming version. Because like that one song, Here Comes I Love You, the standard was set in the room when we did it. Like no one practiced beforehand. It was literally just, here it is, which is risky.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot that you can't refine in that moment. It just is what it is.
There's also a lot of reward if it's done,
Totally,
so
yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of that's kind of in, when you ask about like what type of music that I want to create, I've had this conversation with my wife many times. It's like, well, I could get in there and play a bunch of synth parts, or I could make the vibe of whatever I'm feeling at the time. But it's like, well, what do I want to play live? And I try to help that inform also what comes out naturally. There's part of me that like wants to deny certain musical things that I have to accomplish something else, some other style. But it's like, no, that's who I am. And I need to allow that to all the parts of my influences to influence the now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's some of the things that like, I don't want to be country, or I don't want to do jazz, or I want to do this thing. And it's like, I think people spend a lot of time trying to be something instead of figuring out what they actually are.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very folk, Southern, kind of soul sometimes, it's just, but I think the main circle that I've drawn around my music right now is trying to create something that feels real and actually performed, not programmed.
Yes. And that's probably why, like when I think about your music, your current music, it's like the electric guitar or some form of guitar is so huge. It's a big part of that sound, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I like it. You're an artist. You're going to put out more music, but like what would be, you're obviously a worship pastor. You play on Sundays, but what would be to you success as an artist? How do you define success?
I think that's such an elusive thing. I was actually talking to David Stukenberg about this the other day. Because when you lay out the success plan, it's not like starting another business.
Yeah.
Where you're selling ice cream, or you're going to sell anything tangible. It's not like a normal product industry or even service industry.
Yeah. It feels more elusive, right? Like hard to grab onto. Like,
right, because it's both that. It's both service and product. Music is. It's both of those industries together, I feel like. And the thing that makes it hard is, and David said it really well, that when you start out to say, I'm going to do music as a business, there are so many, the process is laden with so many ifs. If this happens, then this. If this happens, okay, we can do this. I can get there if this happens. right? And it's so much is dependent upon certain things happening. And I know that can be said of other industries, but you know, you really do have to know the right people. You know, a lot of it is. Does that make sense though?
Yeah, I think so.
It's hard to just lay out a plan like, okay, I'm going to open a store, I'm going to get the product in the store, I'm going to make the signs, I'm going to start a social media campaign. Although those are kind of the same thing, a lot of it depends on whether you make the right contacts, you know, whether someone actually sees your music, you get it out there. And yeah, go ahead. I have a lot of
the only
thoughts
thing
on
I
that.
was going to say to that was, I mean, you got the skill part down. Like, very talented, right? You can write songs, sing great, play an instrument great. It's like the skill part of it is only part of it. Having a song, it's like me for some reason, like making a song, making it sound good. That's just part of the success of that song. That's like the starting point.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be the finish line for me.
Yeah. How can I just get a song to be at certain standard, right?
Now it's base minimum.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is like, that's the business side of it, right? That's how do I take me writing songs and make it into something? And of course, like, we're still trying to figure that out, you know? So there's like a journey that we'll figure that out. But you're obviously thinking of your music as the business side.
Yeah, completely. One of the things that I guess one of the ways I view it is, how do I make this presentable to somebody? How do I present it in a way that they're going to consume it? I guess I think about it as food. You know, there's a lot of people preparing food, but then they just stick it in the fridge. You know, there's a lot of people writing songs, but then it just stays on their hard drive. You know, they may never actually finish it. They may never actually serve it up. But, you know, any chef will tell you part of the actual preparation process is the presentation process, right? You have to put it on the plate. You have to organize it and make it proportional and then actually get it out on the table to somebody to actually eat, to where they decide, do I actually like this dish or not? And am I going to continue to come back to the restaurant? And so for me, it's like with this next song I'm doing, I have a song I'm working on production-wise right now. Like I said, we're working on having a live version of it done and just gathering content for this thing. And so we're in the preparation process, right? We haven't even presented it. And I think that's what I'm trying to focus on, is getting the ingredients together, cooking the meal, you know, making the song, and then, okay, let's have an intentional process in the way that we lay this out and present it, so that people don't just see it as this, bam, there was a song he released, but milk it and help them be able to see it. That's part of, you know, you hear it with stores all the time, location. You just you have to be visible.
What have you thought about in regards to sharing that song after it's been released? Like, is it just documenting the process of making the song, sharing somehow, creating content around what the song is about? What have you thought through? Like, what could you share in regard to like what your strategy is?
Yeah, so I had a conversation with a couple friends the other day about this, and they had some really good ideas. You know, not only releasing, you know, seeing the song, that 3.5 minutes of musicality, 4 minutes, whatever, seeing your ability to promote that song more than just the actual release of the song. So like you're talking about gaining content, you know, maybe that is creating images with quotes on them, you know, a quote from the song that really kind of stirs curiosity, with maybe a musical clip, like a 10-second clip of that, you know, basically whetting people's appetite, you know, things like that. Doing behind the scenes stuff, a little moment of like, oh yeah, I like that guitar part, you know, save that one, you know, just where people see you creating it, and you build that interest so that when you actually do release the thing, they have a connection with it. It's familiar to them, and it's not, they've kind of been weighted into the process, if that makes sense. And then being able to follow that up, part of what I'm trying to do with this next song, like I said, is have a live version that is kind of an alternative, right?
Yeah, it's its own thing.
It's its own thing, but it's something they've heard before. And so it's building off of that familiarity that's been been built. And that's kind of, I'm not good at details. My wife will tell you.
Sure.
I'm good at creativity. I'm not good with timelines and all that kind of stuff. But
you almost missed today, bro.
Dude, I almost missed today, man. Thanks for the text, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, focusing on it as more of a campaign and a strategic.
That's a good way to put it, a campaign, yeah.
Right. Thinking about this as this stream of releasing content around this thing, and not just looking at it simply as, okay, I gotta create this song, work for 3-4 weeks in my studio, countless hours, and put it out. People see it for 10 minutes on Instagram and then fly over. You know, my wife said it one time really well. She was like, she talked about cooking a meal. Back to that analogy. She said, sometimes it is discouraging to work hours on a meal, put it before the family, and it's gone in 10 minutes.
Especially with 7 kids.
Right. Well, everybody, it's magnified because, yeah, for sure. And I thought, well, that's such a good principle, and everybody experiences that at some point in their life.
Yeah.
But how much more do you enjoy the meal when mom's like, hey, I'm making chicken and dumplings tonight, and everybody's talking about it throughout the day, and then when it comes, it's this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing with music.
Yeah.
Hey, creating a new song, check it out, and then having the slow release of anticipation.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think you also, if you haven't thought, I'm sure you've thought about this, but you should release like an acoustic version of stuff. Maybe it's not every song, but like an acoustic version of that one you just released would be great. At some point.
No, it's actually a good idea. I have a big.
I bet you already have it.
No, well, no, I don't.
Part of it.
Yeah. So like this song that I'm gonna release, I want to actually do something completely different. Where this song may be drums and guitar heavy. I want to do something different that's like keys and strings.
Oh, that's
cool. Like completely different.
Yeah.
So I love that idea. You're talking about like with Here Comes I Love You. I should do that. I didn't even think about it. It's
Just
probably the
different
best,
versions,
best place to start right there. I could do that one right now. But
is there anything that you can think of if I asked you what your biggest struggles are?
I would say one of the big struggles, and I feel like most people could probably relate to this, is feeling outside. You feel like there's this group of people or musicians that you look up to, and it's like they're doing the thing, right? Because we all have those people we look up to.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But when you look up to them, you're watching them. And so you're watching them have what looks like success, at least. Right. And they're having momentum and movement, and they're doing the thing. And I think that's dangerous. Helpful in one way, but
it's like you
hurtful.
have to be aware, but then just not too much aware or something. I don't know,
Well, it's the difference between being aware and comparing. Comparing there's a fine line that you can step over so easily, and usually we don't even know we're stepping over. It just happens because it's human nature.
You're like, oh, I'm way over the line.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I struggle with is like I just feel so far behind. I always feel so far behind,
Yeah.
And so it makes me determine success. When I do that, it makes me determine success as that person's success. And it's like, well, wait, no. I'm not trying to be that person. And I think that's where you have to step back over the line and go, no, that person inspires me. And I have to let that be all that person does.
Yeah.
But if I'm comparing myself, then it gets dangerous because then my identity, I'm trying to be that person.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Then I'm not creating music that I love. I'm creating music that I do like, but I'm trying to create music that's not my music.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be somebody else.
That's so good. I mean, like I resonate that as a producer, like trying to make songs for people. It's like everybody wants this, oh, can you make this song or this song? Right. It's like those songs are great, but that's not this song. Like this song is going to inform us, and we're going to make something original that's a combination of where you are as an artist and where I am as a producer in this moment, in this season.
Right.
I'm not Timberland. I'm Josh Walker. So it's like, I'm here now. And it's
Man.
like, it's so hard to remember that and like to get out of this mindset of like, yes, we want to be inspired by all this, but like anytime that you get down, and I struggle with that so much, is like, even with running a business, it's like, you know, you're always looking towards like, oh, that business in Nashville or that. There's some studios that I have to stop following because I'm like, their pictures just it looks like everything you're doing is so sick.
Right.
It's just so awesome. And it's like,
looks like you're always working with the best people. And it looks so easy and fun. And I know, man, but it's such a dangerous and destructive. Like it's literally debilitating. Something that should be encouraging is actually tripping you up.
Yeah.
In a big, big way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to do that. Stop following
That's
people
good, man.
sometimes.
Okay, I want to transition to a thing I call 10 things.
Uh-oh.
It's just some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Don't be freaked out.
Let's go.
First thing, favorite concert you ever been to?
The first one that pops into mind is Festival Con Dios, which was held down in Greenspoint Mall. And
sounds cool.
Parking lot. That's not my favorite concert. It's just the first one that came to mind. It's a little bit of bonus material. Favorite concert was actually I went to see Mark O'Connor. My mom and dad had bought me tickets to him. He's a huge musical influence. Mm-hmm. And we went to some symphony down in, I think it was Tomball or Tyler or something. He only played like 2 songs, and he was just a guest for the symphony. I was like, dang it, man. So it wasn't as good as I wanted. That was the only time I'd ever seen him live. And then a few years ago, my wife surprised me and bought me tickets to go see him down in Houston. Well, me and my wife, just us two, we drove down, and it was just this hole-in-the-wall music studio thing, like 40 people in the room.
Wow.
Him and his wife standing on stage, 2 violins, and they killed. And so I'm 20 feet away watching an influence in my life, you know. And it was just this very, it's one of the most,
cool.
yeah. But what was even cooler than that, it was almost like the Lord just was like, here you go. Here's one of the best nights of your life. Everybody left. After about 30 minutes after the thing, people had got their autographs and left. And him and his wife and me and my wife stood on the little stage there and talked for like an hour. I got to just sit there and chat with a musical influence. And the first time I had met him at a CD table at that other deal, my mom walked me. I was like 16 years old, and my mom went up to the table with me. And she was like, right when we stepped up, he looked up and he's like, hey, you know, and shook my hand. And I didn't even say hi. I was just, everything was stuck in my throat, just like, I can't even speak. And my mom was like, she's giving me that look like, you need to speak.
Do something.
And she finally looked at him and goes, he's a huge fan. And he was like, oh, thank you, you know. And I would look like this dumb kid, like I met a girl for the first time in my life or something.
Yeah.
But this time, so anyway, that was the concert.
Awesome.
That was the concert. Just this hole
that.
in the wall with one of the greatest musical inspirations in my life.
What question number 2 is, what's a favorite artist or band currently that you can't stop listening to?
I really like. It's interesting. A lot of these things flex, but one of the elements of my musical diet that I really can't get away from is Drew Holcomb.
Yeah, I love his stuff.
Golly, man,
It's really good.
I
haven't listened to any of his newer stuff, but his older albums I really like.
Well, I was going to say, it's a lot. I mean, his newer albums are fantastic. But like the things that resonate with me are a few of his older things. Mm-hmm. And I just love his writing. I love everything about the production. It's very real. Again, it's that, I think that's one of the things that inspires me about him is lyrically, the way he writes is very intriguing to me and feels very good as a listener. And so I want to accomplish that. Yeah. And then the way that they do their songs produced, it feels like real music to me.
It does, yeah.
It's just real music.
Yeah.
And I think that you can, I think that will always be cool. Real music will always be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'll always be what people want to hear.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Man, I'm either playing music or I'm hanging out with the family.
What's something you do as a dad with your kids?
Right now it's baseball.
Oh yeah.
It's just baseball season, man. Our kids are playing fall ball. But yeah, I mean, we work on baseball all throughout the year.
That's cool.
It's just fun, you know, and it's usually yard ball. It's usually like
Yeah.
a version of it, you know. In the spring, we don't usually play spring. We usually just play fall ball. So throughout the summer, all the other months, we play kickball, you know, things like that. But and we have a bunch of cousins that live on the farm with us, and so it's just kind of part of our culture as
cool.
not just even immediate family, but the extended family. But yeah,
Love that.
We love playing out in the yard, just sports.
Drink of choice, sweet tea.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be sweet tea. Although Wilder Love Coffee is probably the best coffee I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know they're down in Montgomery? Shameless plug for my friends, Cade and Katie Jenkins.
I know. I'm always ordering different beans from different people. So
yeah, they don't make their own. I want to say they don't make their own, but whatever they do, man, every time I order a coffee, I'm just like, this is literally, it's so good.
That's awesome.
But drinks I can make myself, sweet tea.
Sweet tea. Spotify or Apple Music?
Spotify. It's just easier.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
I saw, my next question is distribution channel of choice, but you use Catapult or used to use Catapult.
I did use Catapult. How did...
It just showed up on iTunes. I just saw it.
Really?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. It'll show the
I
distributor.
was like,
I
that's
forgot
cool.
about that. Yeah, I used Catapult on that stuff, and then I moved to DistroKid.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think DistroKid it's not a monthly thing or a yearly thing. You just pay it and you're done. Or it's a yearly thing, right?
Yeah, yearly. Distro is yearly.
But that's so nice to think about, as opposed to like the last thing musicians need is somebody taking a cut from your. If you make money off of a track, the last thing you need is somebody taking a piece of that from you.
What's a song that you've created that you're most proud of?
It's actually the song I'm going to play today.
Okay. Awesome.
I did record a version of it a long time ago, playing around. I haven't released anything. I've never released this song. So it'll actually be the first time.
Wow. Very cool.
A great friend of mine, I was singing it one day warming up, and he was like, "Hey, dude, is that a song you wrote?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I like that song," you know. And it's always been this song that's really close to me, and I'll tell you the story behind it later. But it's one of my favorite lyrically. It's one of my favorite to think about. I just enjoy all the aspects. It's probably one of the very few pieces of music that I've created that I just genuinely enjoy myself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not because it's amazing. It's just I enjoy it.
It just resonates with you.
And, and it's still true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those songs that's still true for me. Like sometimes it's a snapshot and you're just kind of recounting something, but yeah, it'll be the one I play today.
Okay, last question. How many voice memos are on your phone?
Oh, 9 bajillion. I don't know, man.
You probably have idea after idea, huh? Just like stored in there.
Right, yeah. And it's everything from just a riff to a lyric to a vocal part. And that's so hard to do, man. I'm finding that that's not actually a great medium for certain things, because if I'm driving, it's really hard for me. In the moment, I can sing the melody or whatever I'm trying to put down. But sometimes it's hard to hear emphasis as far as rhythm and even chords that I was thinking in my mind. And I've realized, that's not a great way to put a full idea down.
Like you need more,
Yeah. So I either needed a guitar in my hand at the time or something like that. But I have a lot of stuff I've looked back on and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. You know?
Yeah, totally. Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you, man.
Thanks,
and talking music with you and hearing your story a little bit more. Cool socks, by the way.
Thanks, man. My nieces and nephews, they know their uncle well.
They got you. Okay, we're going to transition to you performing the song live. Give me the name of the song and then explain a little bit about how that came about.
The song is called My Revival. And it's about my wife. It's about us. But man, I guess there was a point in my relationship where, I realized all the things that my wife had forgiven me for and has had to deal with, and how she's such a great help to me. by either being the person that will press me hard until I find truth, whether it's uncomfortable to do or not, and so I really began to see, and it's funny, I didn't write this song intentionally with this idea in mind, but I realized as I was writing it, and kind of after I was done, I was like, oh, okay, that's where that came from. The simplest way to say it is I see my wife as probably the most tangible physical expression of what the Holy Spirit is for me. She's the most, she's the best expression of that for me in my life. Reminding me of truth, pressing me when I'm wrong, gently and beautifully, but never letting up, either. Like she's undeniable, she's unwavering. And, man, and just never leaving, never forsakes you. She just always that closeness. And it's things like, marriage is not what I expected it to be. Relationship is not what I expected it to be. And sometimes when you have that realization, you're like, oh, it's less. But then as the journey goes on, you realize, no, it's actually more, because you learn to value different things in your relationship with somebody, and the beauty of those different things, the beauty of the hard things that in the moment feel like, oh, I wish this was never happening. I didn't see this coming. But once that's gone, and once you go past it, the relationship is so much deeper, so much better. You have so much respect and love for that person that stuck it out with you.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
So yeah, it's really just this idea of seeing her as this physical expression of the Holy Spirit and His work in my life for me and with me and all that, on me.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. And thanks again for coming by. And
yeah,
if people are listening, where can they follow? Instagram? You have the coolest last name.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny you say that because I don't feel like that. I always feel like, man, I wish I had a cool last name.
It just sounds so commanding.
Right,
just
right.
Yeah.
Well.
So what do you want? But you have 2 Instagrams. Tell people where to go.
Well, so I started, this whole music thing, really, even though I've done it for a long time, the artist thing is just such an infancy. It's so new right now, as far as putting out my own music. So I started an actual artist page on Instagram, and I have one on Facebook, right? There's just Josh Masters Music. And then there's my personal one, which is, I think it's Josh E. Masters, Joshy Masters. But you can follow me on there. I'll put some stuff out on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber. Yeah. I literally have one video on that right now. I
saw a very old Josh Masters video where you had an accent.
Yeah, just forget all that stuff. Just, man, if there's a way I could pull it off, I tried actually the other day,
really?
And I can't find the password to the email.
Oh my goodness!
And then YouTube has these regulations where you can't access it. You can't reset the password.
That's crazy
for older emails. But anyway, there's a different channel, and it's the one with "Here Comes I Love You," and I'll be putting like the video stuff there. But most of it would probably just be on social media right now.
Cool.
I'm not on TikTok, which maybe I should be, maybe I shouldn't. I don't really know. Do you do
constantly?
TikTok?
No, I don't talk. I don't tick the talk.
You don't tick the talk. No. That's awesome.
Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate your time. And
same.
It's been cool to get to know you a little bit as a friend.
Same.
So hopefully there's more of that down the road.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just about the time I think I got her figured out. It's brand new scenery, switching mirrors, changing smoke. Every turn's not what I hoped, but it's what I need. There's Jew and Gentile in my heart, like the cross she tears apart. The scales upon my mind, turning every stumbling stone into joys I've never known. and the pain to peace inside. And oh, she's my revival. Oh, but she hurts and heals like salt and light. She's the clay within my eyes, and whatever else it takes. With gentle strength I'll never seen, she drags me to the fields of green and waits for me to break. Oh, she's my revival. Oh, death to old and life to new, she seems to know just what to do to soothe a bitter soul. She speaks to me the words of life, they cut and clean just like a knife. And I kiss her 'cause I know that love's not a war, but you got to fight to pierce the dark and bring the light, just to save the one you love. She's held my hand and holds my heart, held on tight right from the start, just like she said she would. And oh, she's my revival. Oh, oh, she's my revival. Oh, oh. There you go.
Solid, man. You
Yeah.
know that one?
Yeah, I like that one.